Hi, this is Amanda with Always in Love. We're back with the last section of Protecting Shaylee by Elle Christensen. This has been it's a very interesting read. It's been we've been really addicted to it and wanting more each time we have to stop. So it's been a very good read. I'm really happy that we kind of took a chance on it and we really enjoyed it. So let's talk about the last couple chapters in the epilogue. So after Fate and they find out that they're pregnant, um, they are also trying to track down the dark forces that are kind of stalking Shaylee's to figure out what's going on, trying to draw them out. And they're having absolutely no luck whatsoever. So I know that I've never been pregnant or anything, but like, who is one of the first people you want to tell? It's your mom, right? Well, other than the dad. But so she finally talks Aden into going home to see her mom in person because she doesn't want to be the type of person who the mom doesn't know about the baby until after it's born, or she doesn't see her mom when they first find out, until she's 6 months along or whatever. So they go and they spend some time back in the human world, and Aden is like her protector there, so that's how she finally talks him into it with, quite a few different ways of persuasion to get him over there, just as long as she gets to hang out and see her mom and her family, and she kind of misses the human world. So how did you feel when they finally went back to the human world, when she got to tell her mom, she got to see everybody?
Well, at first I was kind of nervous for her because we don't really know we don't know who this dark person is. And I'm like, okay, they're going to go to the human world. And, it's I understand, like, having children, the first person you tell your spouse, and then you want to tell your mom and then your siblings, and shout it to the rooftops. But I was just like, man, I just felt for her. I was like, oh, I hope nothing happens because, we're almost to the end. I'm like, oh, please don't do something bad. And, as it went along, and she got to her mom's house, and then her aunt and uncle are there, and it was just kind of funny because the persuasion for Shaylee to get Aden to go, I think most of us wives have done some of those things to get what they wanted, to change the subject. And so it was kind of funny that she was doing that, and then she gets to her mom's, and they have this celebration, and I kind of like that they didn't really come out and say that they were pregnant. It's just she was in her mind, like, I'm eating for two. I'm going to have two big pieces of cake. And it was just funny because I think that we've gone through, I've gone through that. And so you just want to keep eating because you're like, I can do it. Now I'm eating for two. And it was funny how the mom and the aunt picked up on that. And then the uncle, his little comment, he goes, that you knocked up my innocent niece here. And so it was kind of funny. Like, I love their humor in it because it's like so normal. It's like, this is so how some families interact with each other. But then they were there for quite a while. They were there for 2 weeks before, everything was going good. And, Aden had to go see his other people he's assigned to. One was in Montana and one was over in Spain. And so, but Haley happened to be in New York. And so Haley kind of was there to watch over things. And it was interesting to see Haley because we knew she was her friend, but we didn't really ever get to see her, like, how she worked. And I thought it was kind of nice that we finally got to see Haley's involvement in the Fae world, and then the darkness shows up, and it was really strange because at first, and this is a spoiler, I thought Haley, I'm like, oh my gosh, she's leading her down the dark alley, she's gonna, and I was actually getting worried. I'm like, oh my gosh, I start liking you, Haley, what are you doing?
I know.
And then as it came out, you picked it was Killian.
Yeah, so some of the things that he said, it just kind of triggered. But she's so the first thing is Aiden's her uncle, when he confronts Aden, is really one of my favorite parts of the section. So he's like, "So are you gonna plan on marrying her? What's going on?" And and he just kind of does the whole typical. And then they describe her uncle as being shorter and kind of not really that intimidating, but Aiden just takes it and acts like he's intimidated and just does the perfect little boyfriend thing, and then kind of pacifies him and says that there's not a ring yet. So
Yeah.
we know that that's coming. And then, so she goes out, she's having fun with Haley, and they're just kind of, showing the sights, doing the touristy things, which I thought was kind of cool too. That she gets to show off her city and have fun with that, and then they end up out later than they mean to be, because Haley's not used to it being so dark outside so early, and that's kind of where the whole trouble starts. I don't know, like, I used to have to walk home on campus the whatever mile and a half to my apartment, and if it's dark outside, sometimes you get that feeling that you're being watched, or and that's kind of the feeling that they get. But I can imagine the way she describes it, it's so much more intense, and it's like icy fingers, and you just know that something's going to happen, something's happening. And I've been walked through sections and the streetlights are out, and that's freaky in itself. But knowing that there's somebody that loves the dark that's after you in the streetlights, that's just crazy. Like, I don't know if it's happened to you, but as I was walking down campus, the streetlight went out completely. That's so freaky in itself. But yeah, to have something in the dark chasing them too, and then they're walking, and it's kind of these construction areas, the brownstones. It's the architecture again, which I love when she starts talking about that. But they say that they need to get through. She needs to go through this dark abandoned building, and she's freaking out. Why are we going to this dark abandoned building? She doesn't know what Haley's doing. She doesn't know what's going on. So that kind of added an extra element in here that you're kind of, your brain is working overtime trying to figure out what's going on. And I really liked that a lot of this book had that pull. You're really trying to work things out, piece things together in your head. And then towards the end, she figures out why they're going to the back, because it's these yards that are in the back of these little brownstones. And then they get back there, and even the yards are cloaked in darkness. And then they see this figure against this dark, twisty, gnarled tree. I walk through abandoned buildings at night, but I don't think I would want to have somebody standing on the other side. And then you also have Haley, who's kind of playing into this, that kind of recessed in the shadows. So she's freaking out, is Haley good or bad or evil? And you have that whole play going on the whole time. And then we find out that it's Killian, like you said. Her ex-boyfriend is the one that is this bad fate reader. And I bet she was happy she broke up with him at that point.
That was her subconscious was cracking me up.
Yeah. So, he just, he goes on this jerk of a boyfriend, how dare you dump me type thing, which was kind of really interesting, the way that his mind warped the whole situation.
Yeah, he was just warped.
And then, so during this whole thing, she's trying to keep him talking, keep him distracted so Haley can do something or whatever. And this whole time, while she thinks Haley's just kind of hiding back in the shadows, she's actually calling Aden, which was super smart.
Yeah.
So they show up, and then they end up taking Killian. And then there's all kinds of other craziness that happens. The Dark Council member comes and is like, what the hell? You're not supposed to hurt them. You're not supposed to attack them. You're just supposed to tell us where they are. So you have this whole extra layer of, they're washing their hands of Killian and letting, they want him to be turned over to them because he's this fate reader, so they won't really punish him that bad because they need him. They want, they want to use him. Aden knows that can't happen. You can't have this threat going for her and the baby. So they just kind of allow it. And I both liked and disliked it. I didn't really like the fact that they had to kill him.
Yeah.
I understand it. It makes sense to me. It makes sense in their world that he wasn't going to stop and he wasn't going to, do anything to keep coming after them. And, being bad, being on the dark side or whatever is bad. But you would think that they would have some sort of jail or something that he couldn't really get out of instead of having to kill him. But other than that, I think it worked out better for everybody. And then the ending, the epilogue. What did you think about that scene?
I kind of thought it was funny. Been there, done that. And I like, how they, they get married. They kind of do this blissful thing, and then twins,
Yeah.
And it's just like, and girls, and it's interesting, but we had him and Kendricks are kind of like sparring it out, and Aiden's mind is not where it's supposed to be. And Aden says why his mind's um, off because, he can finally, be with his wife after having twins, and he's all excited. And a couple weeks later, oops, his like whole oops, I didn't mean to. I know a man that has done that. So, but let's just say, it's just, I kind of feel bad for Shaylee.
It was just so funny because he was so proud of himself too.
He was. He was just like, woo! It's like raise that to the roof. So that was interesting how the whole book, the internal humor, the subconscious humor, and then the nit and gritty of the Fae world and the architecture. I was hooked, and it was like when it ended that last sentence, I'm like, no,
No,
I
over. It can't
what
be over.
what? And what did I do? I turn around and I one clicked the next story because I was just so like I really like this, and again, this was new for you and I, so this was something we were not expecting and now I'm hooked.
Yeah, and I really could have. I know you get some series that are like, 2 or 3 books for the same couple, and you're like, not again. But really, I could have read more about this couple. It was really entertaining, really fun. They really had a lot of fun. But what did you think about his proposal and where he chose to do it and how he did all that kind of stuff?
It was I just it kind of like that swooning moment for me, because Aiden's kind of like this sexy guy, and I just have this total what he looks like, and it completely won him over more for me. And it was just like, it was just like he can be a total smartass, but then he can totally be just this sweet, tender man. And I don't know, it got me. I thought it was pretty sweet.
Yeah,
So
I loved that he wanted to do that in front of her human side of the family. The ones that wanted to stay there, even though her mom, could come back with them. It makes sense that she wants to stay there. But I really liked how he chose to do it in front of her family, so they could be a part of it. And then his wild and crazy, obnoxious family. I would have loved to have seen their wedding or the scenes with their wedding with his crazy family. They're so loud and boisterous and fun. Um, but yeah, it really kind of played into what it was, and I really wanted more. So I'm sure we're gonna read and probably end up reviewing the rest of the series.
well,
Thank you for joining us. I hope you had as much fun with this buddy read as we did. We are planning to do another one next month. We'll have a little bit more details about that's this week, and hopefully you can join us along with those. And thank you for joining us. Please subscribe and like our videos, and we will see you for the next review.
see you later.